Hello, everybody, and welcome to DJ Podcast. I have officially named this podcast "Being Your Highest Self," because that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. Is work on my highest excitements of being and my passions and being the best person I can be. So being my highest self being my soul, being my consciousness, connecting to my soul and really letting my highest self guide me to my highest frequency that I can achieve. Because ultimately, I want to be my highest frequency and use what a lot of people call the law of attraction to bring joy and happiness in my life. And at this point, it's making this podcast. I'm essentially making it for myself, but hoping that because probably my highest self is helping people. So if I can help you find value in being your highest self, then I think I've achieved a goal. So this episode, it's going to be episode number 2. It's going to be titled "Being Who I Am," or something along those lines, and I want to share with you, like I do often in this podcast, a sound clip from Bashar, who is Daryl Anka, who is channeling a future extraterrestrial. And people are going to say, if he's from the future, how are we talking to him? How are we communicating right now? I will go more into what is called the second law of creation, or maybe it's the third. The third law of creation is everything is here and now. So the past, the present, the future is all happening right now. And the concept of time is really relative to where you're sitting at here and now. Meaning, here's the example I like to give is, what year is it on Mars right now? Okay, we have an idea of what we think what year it is on Earth, but that's only based off of ancient civilization calendars and stuff like that. We started arbitrarily 2023 years ago measuring time, and but that's not what this podcast is about. So anyways, the purpose of this podcast is to hopefully help people who are having trouble identifying who they are. Okay? And so I want to play a sound clip from Bashar. Like I said, it's Daryl Anka channeling an extraterrestrial being. But here we go.
Think badly of you being who you actually are. Is it because they want you to be someone you're not?
Yes.
All right, well, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Is it possible to be someone you're not?
Yes.
It is? How? Enlighten us. How can you be someone you're not? You can, to use your word, try to be someone you're not, but you can't be someone you're not. Go ahead, be someone you're not, right now.
I believe that we are socially conditioned to the point.
First off, I want to say I love that line. Go ahead, be somebody you're not. Go ahead, be somebody you're not right now. But anyways, to continue.
Socially conditioned is a fancy word for pattern and habit. And we already talked about pattern and habit. I am socially conditioned. Oh, how good for you. If you know you're socially conditioned, you're no longer socially conditioned.
Thank you.
So, even though your family may not know this consciously, in their hearts, what they really wish for you, in their spirits, in their souls, in their hearts, is for you to be who you truly are. That's how you honor them. That's how you honor yourself. I know that in their physical minds, they may not think that way, but if you are going to be the good daughter, how about you think better for them?
Can you elaborate?
Think better of yourself on their behalf if they can't do it for you.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Then you will be honoring their legacy, even if they don't know that's what you're doing. Because they really do want you to be who you are, even if they say differently. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Because if you're not who you really are, if you're trying to be someone you're not really part of their family anyway, are you?
Yes.
You understand? Think that. Why would they? Why does think that?
Sorry, it my clip went weird. Basically, and there's an even longer version of his clip where he goes into further about sometimes family members just don't understand and won't understand, and well, your real family would understand. I always say there's a family that you were born with and the family that you found, your friends, your friendship. But basically, I love this one because being who you are, especially in today's world, has become a super big topic for many people. And it's something that I have struggled with a lot, especially recently with a lot of different political views and stuff like that, is people arguing over genders, like transgenders and stuff like that. People arguing over LGBTQ, and things like that. And I'm not gonna go really deeply into it, but my spirituality here, or a huge part of this adventure that I've taken, is realizing that your soul, your higher self, is genderless. Your higher self is ageless. It literally has lived forever, and it's been here the entire time. Your soul has been here since the beginning. Okay, and it has experienced life many times in both a male and a female, dogs, cats, trees. Like, you have lived, like, the physical reality you are in now is such a small, tiny portion of your entire life. And what I mean by your entire life is literally the part where your soul was created billions of years ago. Okay? The energy, because basically what you are is you're an energy wave, you're a frequency, you're a vibration. Sorry about that. One thing I want to say about my podcast is it is an amateur podcast. I don't edit a lot of it. Unless if, I might edit out my huge cough sound. I might keep it in. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get the message across. But anyways, so I had to take a nose clearing. I'm getting over a cold. And it's not easy to breathe occasionally because the sickness is just terrible. But anyways, you remember you have two. There's two parts to you. There's the physical part and the spiritual part, the energy part, right? Your soul, your consciousness, your spiritual part is always always in the spiritual realm. It's in a completely different realm than us, and it's speaking to us. It's communicating to us. It's signaling to us into the physical reality world. So the physical reality world is literally like your fingernail, right? It is the smallest part of everything that you are, of your perception of light. And so anyway, so you as a physical being, at least in the physical reality that you're living now, might be male, might be female, might be a dog, might be a cat. Well, you're not a dog or a cat because you're sitting here as a human listening to me talk. I'm assuming you're not a dog. You could be a dog, I suppose, and picking up on this signal. I don't know. Maybe your owner is listening to the same thing and you're catching in on my vibes and understanding what I'm saying. I don't know. That could be. Your highest self, your soul, is raceless as far as black, white, all the races that we try and divide ourselves here on this planet as humans. You know, we just love dividing ourselves and trying to separate ourselves when we're all just the human race. That's all we are, is we are all just one human race. So whenever I try to understand something, and especially in the last few years, things like human sexuality have been very confusing to me, because for me, I've always identified as a straight male, and that's how I feel. It feels that I'm in the right body. I don't understand exactly how some of the trans people feel and understand, and how they perceive their physical reality is different from how I perceive my physical reality. But all of a sudden, one day, it hit me, and I realized that that our see, there we go. There's that sniffing there, because this cold is just bothering me. That we are, that technically our higher self, our truest self, is genderless and raceless and shapeless. It is just an energy ball that doesn't have the ability to experience things without entering the physical realm. It's almost like your highest self is addicted to experience. It cannot experience having a cold. It cannot experience being burned by a fire. It cannot experience joy. It can't experience a hug. It can't experience rain. It can't experience fire. It can't experience rocks, and it can't experience pollution. And people might say, well, why would you want to experience pollution? Well, it's something to experience, and that is what you have to realize, is that your highest self is trying to experience everything. Your highest self doesn't know what it exactly. The only way it could experience being a straight man is to jump inside, is to control and become a straight man. Or a lesbian woman, it would have to then experience life as a lesbian. It has to experience every form of life out there, and that's its goal. And just thinking about that, with multiple planets and multiple dimensions, look, your highest self can experience multiple dimensions. That's why it says that we are humans. We are multi-dimensional beings, because we are experience the third dimension. And humans, as we evolve throughout time, we will experience higher dimensions as well. Higher dimensions, though, are on higher frequencies, and that's why we can't experience them, because we're not the right frequency for the fourth dimension. It's a very high frequency. If you are experiencing a higher frequency than the third dimension, which is the one we physically live in now, then you've had to raise your frequency, your vibration. It's almost like a TV channel. A TV channel, every channel you pick up on, or a radio station, is a different frequency. It's a different vibrational signal being sent to your TV or to your radio, and what you hear on this channel 101.3 versus 101.7, is two different things that you're hearing, all in the same reality. So a lot of people talk about the law of attraction, and really what it is when you're trying to attract something that you want or desire, you have to be at the correct frequency in order to attract that to you. Okay, so that's what it's saying. Now, how do you raise your frequency? How do you become a higher dimensional being? That is moving towards your highest excitement and becoming the truest you can be. Because that is what your highest self is looking for the most, is being the truest you can be. So throughout life, if you meet people, including your family, who have different belief systems than you, or something like that, occasionally you're never gonna get them to budge. But if it's important to you, just keep trying to explain it to them in a different way, sense, or matter, because they might be stuck on believing something just because they don't understand or want to attempt. They don't want to attempt to validate somebody else's belief system because they are afraid of being wrong, when really they should be excited about learning something new. Okay? Learning something new. And what you need to do in life is continuously show people who don't believe in you that, you know what, I am doing good as this. I enjoy being this. I like being this. Whatever this is. Being this person, being this personality, being this gender, being being a race is more of a physical attachment, but that, you know, it's not like you can transition to a different race because you're here in this physical reality. You are what you are, but it's being acceptant of that, and realizing that as soon as I say you can't change it, you can realize that it's not exactly we are all human. We're all the human race. That's what we are. So it's breaking down these social concepts that we have all been conditioned to believe that this is the one type of social construct there is, because we don't want to take the time to figure out a new social construct and change the way the society thinks about all these things. Because as we know, especially in our society, everybody is trying to be right. Everyone is trying to make their own point. Everyone is trying to complete and force upon beliefs. and what a lot of people don't understand is that you cannot force a belief onto somebody. Simply, if you don't like what I'm saying and you don't believe what I'm saying, then it doesn't matter. Because take it, leave it, go with it, run with it, throw it away. I don't care. It doesn't matter. My goal is not to get you to believe what I am saying is true. That Daryl Anka is talking to these aliens. What ultimately, as I sit here, sometimes I come to these realizations about myself as I talk them out loud. I think ultimately I'm trying to convince myself that what I'm hearing is true. Because I sit here and I think to myself, what if everything that Bashar or Daryl Anka is saying is false? What if all these TikToks and YouTubes I watched about him talking to the channeling the extraterrestrial race, and I've started doing tarot cards, right? And paying attention to my higher self and having all these visions. I'm having these visions and these dreams and all these different things where I'm trying to figure out my own spiritual identity. I'm trying to stay away from organized religion because they have a force it upon you mentality. Well, why do you have to force it upon me? If it is the truth, eventually, if that is the truth, then I will find out that to be the truth. But honestly, trying to force it upon me makes me think that there's something about it that you don't believe in yourself. Because if you really believed it in yourself, believed in it in yourself, then you wouldn't be worried about me believing it. If that makes any sense at all. It's just kind of like, I can sit here and tell you that the grass is green. Okay? And you can sit there and say, Dave, the grass is not green. And I can say, and we can just get in this argument back and forth. Yes, it's green. No, it's green. Yes, it's green. No, it's green. It's like, look at it. Look at it. It's green. You can see it. You can feel it. You can experience it for yourself. The grass is green. Okay? Now, I can sit here and argue with you for days on end, trying to convince you that the grass is green. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I am wasting a whole bunch of energy when I don't need to argue with you over the fact that the grass is green, because I already know it. I already know it. Why am I going to put a lot of time and energy trying to convince somebody of something that they're not willing to understand two sides of the coin? Because every single subject has two sides, right? Every single subject has a positive side, a negative side. A lot of times there's a conspiracy theory side. There's this and that, and what you really have to do is sit down and sometimes talk it through out loud. Exactly what you believe, and you will slowly learn that when you truly believe in something, you will just say to yourself, here's the information, and you'll say to other people, and you'll go, here's the information that I'm giving you. You can either believe in me and say, yes, I believe you, that you are presenting yourself, that you feel like you want to act and present yourself as a different gender and you act, then you were born as. This physical body that you see, okay. This physical body that I have right now looks the way that I want it to look. I'm very fortunate of that. Well, my soul is genderless. It feels comfortable controlling this body. I don't have to do anything to change it, and that's my I don't know. I don't want to say it's anything. It's really nothing, but it's my. I've always kind of said it's the one thing I'm blessed with. It's one thing I don't have to convince anybody of, because it matches the social norm of today's society. And I feel bad for the people who have to struggle with continuously trying to convince their family anything it could be. I don't want to keep it on this gender topic because it's not my best topic. All right, let's just admit that it's not my best topic. But let's just we'll just try to change it to something. I guess I'll make it personal to me. I believe that I have been reading my higher self. Okay, we're gonna bring it back to the spiritual podcast that I want it to be, because I don't want this podcast to be a political podcast or a religious podcast. Keep in mind, when I say religious, I'm talking about the organized, greedy religions. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about. That's why I call myself spiritual. Anyways, back to what I'm saying. I believe that I am communicating with myself, with my highest self, pulling out these tarot cards and getting a path or an explanation of my life through them. That's where this all started. I believe that there is a main source, one source of energy, and that is where all of us are connected. All of us are connected to, and a lot of spiritual people do just call it source. It's and the reason why I like to call it source is I like to separate it from the word God, because the word God is so strongly associated with religion. Because no matter how you perceive source, Buddha, Jesus, God, this, that, it's all the same. It's all the same thing. We are all, and all is we. I am all, and all is me. So no matter what, perception, here, I gotta play the clip. I have to play this clip that's on my mind. Hold up, give me a minute to pull it.
To the idea of all that is being all that is, you would not exist. It doesn't make mistakes, so you cannot be a mistake in any way, shape, or form. Thus, when you allow yourself to stop arguing with creation about your worth and start aligning with the idea that you are in existence for a reason, then you can experience that existence more in alignment with creation, with the flow of creation. So you are all that is, experiencing itself as an aspect of itself, as another point of view of itself, as another perspective of itself, so that it can experience itself from all the possible perspectives that it can, and know and discover itself in that way. Because you see, The structure itself never really changes, but your experience of it, your point of view of it, does. And that's what expands creation. If you were not...
So, what he's talking about there is that you are all that is. Like your entirety. The entirety of your existence is all that is. Like you are literally the room that you're in. Okay? Because the physical reality is, and this is something that's kind of hard to explain, but it's like the physical reality that you're sitting in is almost the projection of what your higher self is seeing, okay, and what your higher self is experiencing. So you are not only your highest self, which is godlike, it's divine. You are divine. That's another hard concept for a lot of people to understand. Is that you are, I am, everything around you is all connected. It's that the way to perceive it changes, and how you perceive it changes all the time. And you can change how you perceive it by raising your frequency. So you are being all there is. And each and every individual is manifesting their own individual physical reality experience all the time. Even two people sitting in the same room are creating that experience for themselves. Both people are having two very different experiences, even though it's happening at the same time, because everything is always happening at the same time. That's another part of this that is, it's kind of challenging to understand, but once you understand it, it will click for you and it will make more sense. It'll just be like everything you do for a reason. Everything that is happening to you is happening for a reason. Even the negative stuff. You cannot, if you do not validate that the negative half of life exists, then you cannot validate that the positive side of life exists, right? Validating both halves of life, the good, the evil, the pleasure, the pain, validating both of them allows you to choose what is right for you. And I would even say that mixed with free will in life, that unfortunate things do happen that seem like they're out of your control, but they're not. It's really that you didn't realize that the negative belief, the negative thing that you are believing in, the negative thing that you are following, the negative thing that is attracting you is negative. Okay? And not believing in a better version of yourself, is what allows negative things to happen, to attract negative things in your life. If you cannot get past the addiction, it's because you're not realizing that you are all that you need to get past that addiction. See, in realizing that you are all that is a challenge. It's one of the hardest things. It's a concept that I'm struggling with. And that's why I'm struggling with this recording, but I feel like that sitting here talking to you is also helping myself talk through my own spirituality. And that's another reason why I do these podcasts, because as I do them, I also learn more about it, because I'm forcing myself to talk it through and realize that the things that I'm doing will raise my frequency, and it will change. It will help me find the life that I'm looking for. I shouldn't say it's guaranteed to change it, but if I raise my frequency, I will be able to perceive a new life or a different version of my life that I want to perceive. I will then be on the right channel. And if I stay on the right channel long enough, meaning I at first, as you raise your frequency, as you change the channel on the television or the radio station, it will sound like and it will look like the same thing. But if I stay on the correct frequency long enough, I will see the better version of myself, and I will start living in the better version of myself. Because right now, everything that I'm looking at is just a projection of the frequency of which I'm on. It's a projection of it. If I sit here long enough and this works, then I will be becoming my better self. I'll be becoming the higher version of myself. I'll be able to perceive things in a better, more positive way. And on the flip side of that, if I do this and I get nothing out of it, well, at least I found out that this is not my passion. It's not my excitement. It's this and that. And then I can stop wasting energy and putting time into something that isn't my passion, that isn't my excitement. But in order for me to figure out if this is my excitement, I have to sit here and do this, because in my imagination, let your imagination guide you towards the things that you are looking for in life. And remember that you may picture a certain thing, but don't allow that certain thing, that certain outcome of this. Like, for example, my podcast, I can picture, let's just say a million subscribers, right? I can picture the million subscribers, and then I will never have more than 1 million subscribers, because I have already set the expectation of having 1 million subscribers. So therefore, one of the hardest concepts is realizing that if you go into something with the expectation already set, that means that you're limiting yourself on what you can do. So you have to go into something with zero expectation of what the outcome is going to be, and that is what I'm trying to do. That is what I'm doing. I don't know what all this is going to. I don't know what all this is going to manifest. I don't know. I have an idea of what it could be. I have an idea of what it could look like, but the best I can do is just do it. Do it the way that I feel is the best way to do it. And that's essentially what I've been doing. So believing in myself and believing in my new spirituality and doing that, I have found that the answers to the questions that I've been having throughout life are slowly kind of being answered, or at least I'm coming up with part of an answer. Why is this way? Why is this that way? Who am I? That's a big thing. Who am I? Who do I want to be? I have gone a lot of my life. Dave, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. What do you want to major in college? I don't know. What do you want to? What do you want to be a car mechanic? I don't know. I went to school for car mechanic, and I went out 3 months later. I don't want to do that. This isn't okay. So then I went to DeVry to be a computer programmer, which is something I probably should have stuck with, but I didn't understand. I didn't like it. I immediately got out of it, and somewhere along the line, I got caught up in my job, my work, Why? Because there's safety. There's safety in a pattern that works for me. And it was continuously trying to figure out what am I going to do for a living? What am I going to do for work? I'm always trying to find that job that I can stick in for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Well, maybe that's not me, being in that single job. Because I often look at it and think, oh, people in the past, they found a job, they stuck with it for 20 years, and, they get raises, and they have stability in their life, where it's just kind of like, yeah, but with that monotonous every single day, do the same thing, and then have the goal of retirement at the end is not exactly what I want. Because my actual goal is to always be doing what I want to be doing all the time. Right? So I try and picture a world where automation works for us and we're not stuck doing the terrible mundane tasks of life. And I then am allowed to experience life how I want to experience life. And what I mean by how I want to experience life, I'll be able to experience life exactly in the way that I want to do it. So, and be exactly who I am. See, that's why aiming to be exactly who you are will make you, I don't want to say will make you a better person, but it will make you a better version of yourself. It will raise your frequency, it will raise your vibration to become a better version of yourself. So be who you are. If you want to express yourself in this direction, then do that. Do it. And if there's people in your life that sit there and are constantly negative about who you want to be and who you say you want to be, and all you can do is say, hey, this is my path. This is my life. I believe in this for me. And if you don't believe in it and you don't support me in it, because the universe will support you in whatever you want to believe in, whatever you want, whatever energy you ask for the universe, you will receive it. If you ask the universe for negative energy, you will receive negative. If you ask the universe for positive energy, you will receive positive energy. And you have to go into it not expecting any one particular thing. That way, you will get the best outcome you can get. So if there's something you've been thinking to yourself about doing, and you've been procrastinating on this, get up, and what's a better time than the present to even start the very littlest part about all this. A few years ago, I said to myself, I want to be a podcaster. I want to be a social media influencer. I want to sit here and entertain you with my voice. That is what I want to do with my life, is entertaining you with my voice. And I had this envision of making the sports podcast. But every single time I make the sports podcast, especially, okay, so it's an NFL sports podcast for the Chicago Bears. Watching the NFL, watching the Bears, it is one of my excitements. It's one of the things that I enjoy doing in life. The sports analysis, the sports statistics of it, the whole thing, the gambling, the betting part of it is all exciting for me. As long as that doesn't become an addiction, it's fine. I can do that. That's another thing. Is like when people say drink in moderation. Yeah, control. You are in control over your behaviors. So when you start seeing yourself slipping into these negative behaviors, these negative beliefs, you need to catch yourself immediately and say, no, I am my highest version of myself. I can control what is going on in my life. I can control my intake, my food intake, my drink intake, my gambling intake, all these different things. I can experience all of it as long as I don't allow for the negatives to take over and put myself in a bad area. And if I catch myself immediately and I realize bad negative patterns, okay, I can then stop that negative pattern. Then that's what I have to do. So part of everything is believing in yourself, believing in that you have the control over your life to control it and shape it in the way that you want to shape it. Along the way, there will be people who try and stop you, try and disagree with you, try and force you to be in this direction when you know you should be going in this direction. Look, listen to them, hear them out, examine their point of view. You might find something in their point of view that you find useful. It could be useful as an engine to go against the grain, go against what they're saying, right? To empower your own decision, right? You could be looking at someone else's point of view and simply just saying, no, know what? I am going to do it my way, the way that I want to do it, because I believe in myself. And I'm going to prove you wrong. And if that is what drives you to being your highest, best self, then you can use that. See, you want to examine, you want to peer into the negative belief, to validate the negative belief, and then choose not to do the negative belief. Choose to do the more positive belief, right? And for a moment, it will feel like, well, nothing is changing. Dave, I do this. I've done it. I've worked towards my highest self. I've tried to do my highest experience. I've tried to build on my highest belief system, my best belief system. I tried to build on my highest passion, and I'm not seeing the results. Okay. That means that you're not believing in what you actually need to believe. Maybe what you're doing is wrong. Yes, and you need to pick a different passion. Maybe the passion or the excitement you're trying to force through now. Going back to my original idea for the podcast, I just kept saying to myself, the sport I watch, the NFL, is a weekly sport. And if I don't have any listeners, then nobody's hearing my opinion on that week. Week 1 of the NFL, no one's going to hear it. And by the time week 5 comes around and you start listening to my podcast, you're not going to care about what happens week 1. So I'm exploring this. Some of it feels positive. Making the podcast, sitting down, learning how to post a podcast, learning how to put together a website. It was very challenging at first, but now I find that part of it easier. Building the podcast, putting the podcast out there on the social media apps, on the podcast apps, even though my original 3 or 4 attempts at the podcast failed, okay? I've learned something from it. I've learned how to do it. I learned how to record it. I learned how to build it. I've learned how to edit it, even not to the best ability of all this programming I have. But it's also why I went cheap on the programming, because editing is not the main point. Like I said to you, this is my amateur podcast. It's you might hear, like I said, you might hear my glass jingle in this thing because I stop and take a break. You might hear me cough, sneeze, take a sip of water, smoke on my vape, something like that. But that's not the point of the podcast. The point of the podcast is to get the word out. So as I went through, I put this podcasting on hold for about 2 years because I just was not getting the result I wanted from it. But I put it on hold, and I know that doing some type of podcast is really what I want to do. Being some type of media influencer, especially with my voice in radio or podcasting, is something that I want to do. And what did I do? I changed it a little bit, and now I'm really excited. I'm re-energized to do it this way, because if I put out a spirituality podcast, and if you don't find me until episode 5, you can go back to episode 1 and listen to that. Even weeks later, episode 1 will still be relative. It'll still be valid. Where if I'm doing a sports podcast, episode 1 is the Chicago Bears losing week 1, and it's me disappointed. But now it's week 17, and I'm not gonna listen to 17 weeks of Dave bitching and complaining about the Bears. Maybe, I don't know if that's your passion, if that's your excitement. Maybe you'll do that. But I'm hoping, see, this subject, it's a subject I am very excited about. The spirituality subject is something I'm very excited about. So I like talking about it. And I can leave this podcast up and feel good about it even weeks from now or months from now, and I can let it sit here and people maybe find it, and slowly my audience builds off of something that I can allow sit in podcast world. All right, anyways, this one is running a little bit long, so I do want to end it. I like making these somewhere between 30 minutes, at most an hour. So it's something that you can digest and listen to. An hour is a long time for people to listen. So I'm going to sign out the way I like to sign out. I'm going to share with you or go back to the meditation sounds. I think this one we're going to do the thunderstorm to end my podcast. DJ Podcast, David James. Thanks for listening.